Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. Pleased to have, as always, my co-host, Mr. Tate Mathews. Tate, we had a week off, and now spring sports are in full swing in WCS.
They are definitely in full swing. Everybody's back from spring break, including the other counties. The weather was beautiful this weekend, so it feels like it's the right time to start talking about spring. And we got a lot to talk about. Everywhere, right? They need about 10 of you come the spring. Because there's something everywhere every day.
Well, it's a little harder to get out in the spring when there's so many different ones. So I'll try to touch on a few. And then the best is when there's a couple events on campus at once.
That works out very well.
That's the absolute best. Let's jump right in talking a little track and field.
Okay.
At the taping of this show, Scott Hartman relays there was a day of bad weather, so that's being finished up. But certainly that started off very strong in terms of the competition.
Yes.
Do want to give a shout out to the Brentwood boys and girls. They both won championships over at the Green Hill Invitational. They probably won't be invited back because they dominated. And then the March Madness actually happened out at Ravenwood. It was another good event. Ravenwood's boys and girls both won. The Page girls had a strong showing, finished second, only 7.5 points behind Ravenwood. So very successful event.
Very successful event, it always is. Coach Miller gets always nice when you win your own, I almost said tournament. I guess that would be called a track meet, right? And you see what the Page girls track team's doing. They're growing in numbers, right? We've talked about that. They're growing in numbers, and that program's getting better. So yeah, getting a runner-up to Ravenwood by, what'd you say, 7.5 points?
7.5 points.
That's strong.
And if I'm not mistaken, on the boys' side, it was the first time they had won that event since like 17 maybe.
Yep.
So it's been a while. Coach Miller likes that boys' team.
Well, there's a lot of individuals that would make it easy to like that team. We're going to talk about a couple of them here in a second.
I did want to mention a couple of individuals. On the girls' side, Sarah Tang, who's just been dominating the shot and discus from Independent. She wins both of those championships. On the boys' side, another young man who's dominated, Mason Green of Ravenwood, he wins both. And then how about Donovan Starr, what he did? The sophomore, let me say, sophomore from Ravenwood.
Sophomore. He wins. He takes first place in March Madness in the high jump with a jump of 6'9". Not only did he win the event for the meet, he broke the school record. He bested his personal best by, I believe, 7 inches. Went from 6'2" to 6'9". That's strong. He's a sophomore. We got to be talking about a young man at some point in his future. A 7-foot jump is going to happen. Now, that's you clear that. We're talking big time stuff. Next level going on and doing jumping in big in college. And the thing that jumped out to me has been well documented on this show. 6'9". That is an entire foot higher than what Dr. Qualls, the man who used to sit in your seat, got runner-up in the small school classification when he was in high school. An entire foot. And he was runner-up. That's how high of a jump that is.
Now, in Dr. Qualls' defense,
yes,
there's 3 things I want to give him a break on. Number one, he wore baggy shorts because he also played basketball. He didn't wear
He thought he was a member of the 96 Bulls is why.
He also wore untied Jordans.
Yes.
And I don't know if he didn't know any better or he was just that competitive. He jumped every single height. So, you know how you can skip. You can go, I'm pass. I'm going to a higher one. If somebody else jumped it, he's like, sure, I'll do that.
Yes. Well,
so he had those things going against him.
And we spoke off air. I hope it wasn't our friend Brian True or anybody that we care about. But my guess is Coach Miller and the staff at Ravenwood were a higher quality of track and field staff as what he got when he was in high school.
Well, the rumor is the alderman out there who you met.
Is he the guy that has the RV?
The alderman and the guy who runs the Centerville Skyview
Country Club.
Country Club I think he might have been the coach, so he was pulled a couple directions too.
Well, that guy plays golf in blue jeans, so my guess is he taught high jumping in blue jeans. So there you go. Probably not. Probably at a disadvantage.
Let's talk a little softball, Tate. Brentwood Invitational, one of the better tournaments around. I know we've got some other schools that host tournaments too, but what Coach Powell's done with that particular tournament. Again, they had to battle the weather a little bit. Centennial, what Coach Serban's done there at Centennial. They were the last Williamson County school standing. They made it all the way to the semifinals of the gold bracket, which is the higher level bracket in terms of quality of team.
Yes.
They lose to eventual champion Green Hill. Nolensville lost in the quarterfinals. Ryland Smith, 9 strikeouts in that game.
Well, we talked about
Which is kind of low for her.
Yeah, right. Well,
only 9, Ryland? Come on, pick it up.
yeah. Well, she didn't have as many at-bats, 'cause
Right.
there weren't a whole lot of runs. And we've talked about her, the shortage of the Wilson A9011 softballs can probably be attributed to her because I think she gets it when she gets a strikeout. But, yeah, that's a tough loss. You would think when you hold them to 1, you're going to get a win. But that one's a tough one to swallow, right? But they were right in it. And then what I love about that tournament, I think we talked about it last year, is it's the Brentwood Invitational, but Brentwood doesn't play in it.
Right.
It's their largest I think their largest fundraiser. It's one of their largest fundraisers. And Coach Powell, she does it for a couple reasons. One, you got to have manpower to run a tournament that size, and also she really likes having the girls serve for that weekend in that capacity. So I think it's really cool.
It's very unique.
It's very unique, and I'm not so sure it's not something that other people ought to do. But, our young people don't get enough of that sometimes, and I think that's a great idea, man. A really great idea. And it's a very popular tournament. 26 teams ended up coming this year. It's growing. It's getting bigger. So back to Centennial, yes, you can tell. And we've talked about that. If Coach Serban would stay, which he will and is, he'll build that thing up. That's all that program needed was some stability. They're getting better.
That tournament sort of reminds me, and I don't even know if they play it anymore. There was a big tournament out at Drakes Creek Park that was put on by Hendersonville when Coach Griffin was out there helping. And Chick, the 2 coaches, I hate to give the Commandos any credit, but I will. To me, that was the one. I don't know if they're even still doing that, but at one time, that was the one.
It was a who's who of softball, for sure. Andy Griffith and the crew running it up there. Drakes Creek, you could go over to Black Eyed Peas restaurant. You remember that? Get a meat and 3.
I remember it well.
The place was good. How'd they mess
Wasn't
that
there
up?
a Rio Bravo out there too?
There was. It's been a bunch of things now. I think now it's called like Tequila Amigos or something like that. But it's been a bunch of things. But, oh, yeah, there was a Rio Bravo out there. But back in the day, Black Eyed Pea was it. You remember, what's the other place we love? Safaris? That's back.
Oh.
That place was good. But anyways, enough about the Commando Invitational. That's good. That was a good tournament.
Hey, what did you think about sticking with softball? I thought this was kind of cool. Joe Williams, Charles Pulliam, and the crew doing the WAKM radio. Now, according to them, it's the first time ever that they've done a softball game on the radio. They did the play-by-play. Brentwood at Centennial. Brentwood gets a 6-0 win. Sophomore Marina Mason.
Yeah.
Hey, she's starting to sound a little bit like Ryland Smith when you look at these strikeouts. She has 11 strikeouts in that particular game, 13 against Wilson Central, which brings me to this week's gym, Tate. In 4 games,
Okay.
50 strikeouts for the sophomore.
That's strong.
It's pretty good.
That's 12 plus a game.
12 and a half.
Averaging.
12 and a half a game.
That's strong. And we talked about it a couple weeks ago, right? Like Coach Powell, when she first got here with Hannah Koenig, right? I mean, had great pitching and was really just walked through this area, right, in softball. And it's kind of been a little bit different the last few years, but you can tell she's she's kind of reloaded at pitcher, and Marina is she lights up when she talks about her. She's going to be the real deal. And here's the thing: I always love this about softball, and Marina's one of them. Not only does she have 50 strikeouts in the first 4 games, she's averaging like 487 from the plate. So it's not like she's a liability.
Right.
She's just as good behind the plate, at the plate as she is on the mound. So very cool. She's got a chance to leave Brentwood as one of the best.
I've always thought, too, it's like McIlvain in baseball at Nowensville. I've always thought that was cool when you did both.
Right.
Plus, think about this, and it's probably not as much a thing in softball, but the old brushback pitch, well, you're not going to do that to the person pitching.
Unless you want the favor return.
That's right. Like, oh, okay. That's what you're doing?
You know I'm going to be on that mound in a minute, right?
No, but she's really played well. And then what about that, bro? I thought that was really good. You know, the guys at WAKM, obviously the Williamson Herald as well. Joe Charles really, in particular, I think he's really been a champion of some of our female sports. I thought that was a cool thing to do.
It's a very cool thing, and it's very cool that they have the platform on WAKM to do it. Yeah, I think it's great. Hey, any attention we can bring to our young people, and let's face it, the spring sports don't always get as much. Now, part of it is there's just so much
going on.
But I think it's awesome, man. And you don't have to. Those two guys, you don't have to ever question where their loyalties lie. They lie right here in this county, in this school system.
And get a little bit
defensive about
when
it.
somebody else tries to step in. But I love that.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Protect your turf.
I love that.
No, that's very cool. And I know the young ladies had to have really appreciated that. Is that something you expect to see more of? Do you have any idea?
So.
Yeah.
I hope so. And I think you've got to do it in a way when you're trying to promote other sports that maybe aren't covered as much, whether it be female sport or spring sport like you're talking about. I think it's got to be done in a way where it doesn't feel forced.
Right.
And that didn't feel forced. It was very natural.
Yeah.
I used to always say, I coached one of those sports where when the game was over, there was somebody waiting to talk to me about it, coaching boys basketball. But it doesn't mean those other sports aren't important.
No.
They're just as important. And I think as coaches, as district athletic director, as athletic directors, it's our responsibility to take that on ourselves. If other people aren't going to naturally promote it, do it yourself.
That's right. That's what you would have done.
Correct.
Hey, man, you promoted a 3-win team like y'all were the dang Louisville Cardinals under Denny Crum.
Talking about tough to do. Hey, speaking of 3-win teams, McEwen with a 23-0 loss to Fairview in softball. I'd sent Coach Jones a message and was like, is that for real? Y'all had 3 touchdowns and a safety?
Golly.
He said, well, we played Centennial and they double-ditched us right after that. So
Came back down to earth.
Yeah, but I mean, they don't have to beat Centennial, but 23-0 against McEwen. I almost felt bad for McEwen.
Almost.
Almost, not quite.
Right.
Better them than us.
Dang right. Well, and was that in the Brentwood Invitational?
No.
Oh, okay, that was
regular season.
Regular season, yeah. So they had to. I was going to say you ought to know better than to do that, but golly, was that game at? You know where it was?
I do not know.
Yeah.
Anywhere to eat up there at McEwen in case it was there?
No. But you do have to go through Dixon and.
You have to stop by the. Remember the old pantries? Remember the pantry?
Of course, yeah, it was big time.
They may still have a pantry. IGA. I bet there's an IGA.
There's an IGA. There's a Piggly Wiggly. I like McEwen, man.
Quick sack.
No.
Not quite there yet.
Not there. Like Freddie's Market. But you do have to come through Dixon, which, as we know,
great.
Dixon's
great.
They've got some of the best barbecue around down there, downtown Dixon. So
a lot of good things happening.
Jay Palace endorsed.
A lot of good things. I was talking to my
big fan of Dixon. Always have been.
I was talking to our friend DP around spring break, and he called me on the phone and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "My wife and I are actually in downtown Dixon." And he said, "What for?" kind of cool down here.
Right.
He didn't really understand it.
Yeah. He never makes it past Greystone. His loss, not ours.
That's right. Let's talk a little baseball.
Yep.
Big series, Independence Summit. Independence comes in undefeated.
Yes.
Indy wins game 1, 5-4.
Tough one.
Tough game.
Tough one.
You've got Cleaver on the mound at the end. Summit kind of made a little push, but not enough. Indy wins that game. Game 2, Summit, Jace Kirby on the hill. For Summit, they get the 5-1 win, and then Indy wins the rubber match 7-3 to take that series 2-1. If I'm Indy, and of course, Nolensville's there as well in that particular district, but I'm nervous about Summit.
Well, yeah, they took him. Well, they took one from him, and then it was all three of those games could have gone either way. So yes, they should be. But that's kind of the way we want it, right? I mean, we don't want them to be. Well, I'm sure Coach McClory wants to just walk through it, but we want it competitive. So yes, they should be, because either one of those can win anytime they get on the mound.
And in baseball, which makes a lot of sense in baseball, you win the regular season, you automatically advance the region because of pitching. Because even a lower seeded team, a lot of times you do have one pitcher that can be competitive. So I like the fact that the regular season in other sports, I don't like it.
Right.
You know, somebody mentioned we need to do it in softball. Why? You have the same pitcher that pitches every single game.
Right.
It makes sense in that sport that they reward that regular season.
I agree with
winner. Nolensville, the big sweep over Columbia Central, and then Centennial. Explain this one, Tate. Here's one it's kind of like the old basketball tournament where you can lose the semi, then you play the third place game, then you lose that one, and you still go to the region. Here's one that's kind of hard to explain. In the other district, because we've got a couple of teams that don't have enough pitching.
That would be Hillsborough and Overton, our friends from the north.
We count 2 of the 3 games.
Right.
So Centennial Brentwood ends up.
So Centennial, this is huge. Centennial had a series sweep over Brentwood, but the actual series, they had a series sweep and then a win. It's complicated. So in that,
This is what I want you to explain.
in that district, it is they play 2-game series because Hillsborough and Overton did not want to play 3 games. I don't know this for a fact. My guess is they don't feel like they have enough arms to compete with those teams in 3 games. Probably don't have enough arms in 2. But, so it's a 2-game series. So Centennial sweeps Brentwood. They go 2-0. Ryan Sweeney with the win and Ryan Yates with the win for the Cougars. Then they play a 3rd game, which looks like that's a part of the series, but it's not really part of the series. That's just a game. And they won that one too, 3-0. And Miller Klein got the win there. So if I know what you would do. If I'm Coach Boffman, I'm calling that a 3-game sweep, a series sweep of 3 games for the Cougars. That was big for them, playing well, because they'd been up and down. They had not put it all together yet, and obviously those 3 days they did.
Just early, I know we're early in the season, but on that side, it appears Centennial Franklin to me. Yeah. And then on the other side, Indy Summit, Nolensville, Ravenwood, Columbia.
Yeah, but
I feel like it's Indy Summit right now, but I wouldn't. Something like last year in baseball, I did this and had an early prediction, and I just totally destroyed the rest of the season for that team.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm not saying
Nolensville,
but who do they have?
Well,
going in the draft, probably McElvain. He's a pretty good player.
Yes.
So who knows?
And hey, history shows Nolensville plays their best ball at the end of the year. So
it's a good vibe. When you go watch Nolensville baseball, it's hard to describe what a vibe is, but they've got it.
Whatever it is, they've got it.
You know, I went out to the state tournament a couple years ago and watched them, and it's just got this feel about it. Coach Hudson's done a great job.
He has, and I think he plans on being one of the teams. So going to be fun.
Well, since I said he wouldn't be early on, that means they will.
State tournament.
Probably be state runner-up. Soccer, let's talk a little soccer.
Yeah.
I saw that the Bruins
rolling
ranked 5th nationally. Now, I know some of those don't matter, but when the school puts it out, The United Soccer Coaches, that's a legit kind of ranking, had Brentwood ranked as fifth in their poll. And then I wanted to mention this one too, because GCA last year, I think they were state champion in their division. They play Franklin 5-0. Aiden Moss, Sawyer Shelton combined for the shutout for the Admirals. Davis Long, hey Davis, you don't really have time to play soccer. You got to focus on basketball. He has 2 goals.
Yeah,
for Franklin.
I love that. We've talked about that before. A lot of multi-sport athletes in the WCS sports conference. I don't know of one that is a basketball soccer player on the boys' side. I know.
Well, and why is it? Talk about soccer and the culture of. I'm not blaming our coaches, but if you tend to play soccer,
they want you to play soccer.
Yeah, right. I'd never heard of soccer in December till I used to live out by Jim Warren Park, and I drove by. I was like,
"What are they doing?
Is this like a real game? Is this real match going on? Is it a friendly?" I'm like, they literally play it year round. But Davis, who obviously I'm assuming doesn't play any travel soccer, but he comes out to tryouts. Coach Burgoyne says, "Yes, you're in, and get in and score a couple goals. Doesn't matter if you can do it."
That's right. If you can do it, you can do it. And he can do it. I love it. I think it's great. And Franklin's, I think Franklin's like 2-1 right now. That's one thing I'm a huge soccer fan. The tie thing, man, I just don't, it doesn't sit well with me, man. It just doesn't look good when you're looking at those records. Because, there's times some of Brentwood's best years, you'd look over and they were like 15-0-3. And you're like, what are the 3? Oh, those are ties. So, and I know that's not what they wanted, but Franklin's in the conversation for sure. Brentwood right now they're also number 1 in the mid-state poll. I don't know if that's as official as the United Soccer Coaches, but it is people that pay attention around here. They're outscoring their opponents like 35-5.
They had a 9-0 win over, I forget who it was recently. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm just telling you, they're the defending champs. We're not going to get the big head, but you can tell when you talk to Coach P.
He knows.
He likes his team, man, a lot.
Sticking with Franklin here just a second. Got a text from Coach Burgoyne. We love Coach Burgoyne.
Yes.
He does it right out there at Franklin. Sends me a text and say, I'm on the bus to Beach, and it's taking forever to get here. Like it was my fault.
Right. Or you could do something for him.
And I told him, I said, 2 of my favorite schools, Beach and Franklin. I said, but make no mistake, I know where my paycheck comes from. They get a 1-1 tie.
Ooh.
With Beach.
There you go.
Yeah, 1-1.
Now think about that. You think Coach Burgoyne
drove 2 hours.
Davis Long wanted to drive back through that traffic again with a tie?
No.
Did they?
They didn't really want to drive through the traffic with a win, much less.
Is that Bob Evans still there? I mean, that's the highlight of the trip.
there's the Long Hollow Jamboree. That's a good one. Good meeting 3 out there.
Oh, ain't no question.
It's very good. Let's talk a little tennis, and of course we'll mention Brentwood again. Their boys and girls, a couple wins over Spring Hill and Hume Falk. I'm impressed that they got Spring Hill to play them.
Me too.
You think it was maybe a new coach at Spring Hill didn't know better?
Yeah, or just said, hey.
Why not?
Where's the shortest road? Brentwood. They're nice people.
Brentwood's good, man.
Oh,
Ravenwood's got a good team. Another sport, we're really strong again.
Yeah, without a doubt. We're talking tennis. I hate to go back. I was surprised that you didn't go out on the limb at the beginning of the show and predict the Brentwood girls track and field team to win the state championship. But does that mean you're not?
No, they'll win again. Okay. In fact, it's such an obvious pick. I'm just going to. And Brentwood girls tennis, too.
Okay.
They got a ton coming back from that team last year. I think they lost 1 senior in tennis, and it was somebody played like number 3 or 4. It wasn't necessarily the top.
All right, this is relevant, but I have to go here because we're talking tennis. You're such a big tennis guy. The pickleball showdown.
Oh,
have you seen this?
With McEnroe and Chang and Roddick and Agassi. I'll say this, that helps the popularity of that sport.
Okay, so I see this, and I'm like, this is fantastic, because I love pickleball, right?
They call it like Slam Fest or?
Slam Fest. Did you see McEnroe's quote?
No, but his hand-eye coordination's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
He's in his 60s.
But so he's a part of this, man. This thing's big. And then somebody quoted him, I guess he's heard one too many times, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America. It's going to be the biggest sport. And he said, if I hear one more time that pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America, I'm going to throw up.
And then he played it.
And then he plays in one for a bunch of money. Anyways.
He's obviously pretty good.
I love pickleball. I think it's all. Well, of course he is. He's got to be, right?
And that's the.
Wouldn't you think, though, the smaller court, quickness, doesn't the edge have to be to Chang and Agassi in that? Or no? With McEnroe and Roddick?
I think it's because the ball doesn't bounce that high. I've never even played. You know why I can't? One thing that pickleball's got to overcome, it's considered the sport of the old people.
Well.
Once they overcome that, I know we're playing it in PE a lot. There's a lot of our PE folks that are getting that going.
It's fun, man. It's a great
as soon
program.
as it's viewed as a little younger sport,
it's on its way. I can tell you this.
It's like standing on the ping pong table, right?
There will be a pickleball match that will happen on Easter Sunday at the Mathews, the elder Mathews home. And, buddy, it will be intense, I assure you.
Isn't it kind of, the way I've had it described to me a little bit, it's obviously got some qualities of tennis,
yeah.
But it's kind of like standing on the ping pong table. In a way, right?
Wow.
I'm not saying that to make fun of it. I'm just saying it's kind of got that feel. You got that smaller.
Yeah. If you're playing singles and you're playing around somebody who has any control of the ball, they can move you around pretty good. I mean, it's a workout now.
Well, you took that as I was making fun of it.
No, it wasn't. No, ping pong.
And plus, it makes that same sound.
Yeah. All that's there. But ping pong, I don't feel like you really move around that much, especially in doubles.
Right.
Kind of standing there.
I get it. Hey, want to mention this too. We're in year 2 of the pilot program with the Titans and the TSSAA. We got flag football going again this year. Standings after 2 weeks. It's looking pretty similar at the top to how last year ended. You got Franklin and Coach Webb at 4-0. Fairview and Page both at 3-1. Then you've got 2-2, Ravenwood, Brentwood, Summit, 1-3, Indy, Nolensville, and Centennial 0-4. But very competitive games.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's just a matter of time before that one becomes sanctioned. And you saw some highlights that you thought, this is kind of fun.
Oh, man. Well, Charles is another one who's just been doing an unbelievable job of covering that. But, yeah, I was fired up sitting there looking through Twitter yesterday or this weekend, and Franklin, 4-0, Ava Webb to Emma Nyhill.
That was nice.
About looks like about a 15, 20-yard little fade to the back of the end zone. It was executed perfectly. And if memory serves me correct, wasn't Franklin at the top of the standings the whole year, and then tournament didn't quite go their way? But
yes,
this isn't new. Like, Franklin's at the top. Yeah, Ravenwood won it last year, but I feel like last year Franklin was at the top the entire year, right? Undefeated in the regular season?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, one, don't sleep on Coach Rathbone and his crew out at Page.
No.
He loves it, doing a good job.
Well, they were runner-up.
That's right. Don't sleep on Coach Hester. Coach Hester, they lost. People don't remember that. They won the tournament. They dominated the tournament.
Yes.
They were 6-2 during the season. So it's not about, he's thinking we're heading towards the tournament.
Well, there's chatter. You've heard the chatter, though.
There's definitely chatter. Fairview, obviously, with Coach Hughes, got experience with
got after Brentwood
flag
big
football.
time.
He did. And then, of course, what Coach Webb's doing. Those are the 4, right? The 4 that made the semis last year are sort of the 4 right now.
Yeah.
But could change.
Yep, I agree. The other side, a little bit, not the other side, but the other side of the paper. Summit, Independence, Nolensville, Centennial, still kind of finding their way a little bit. But, I think I also heard there's a lot of talk about this, there is. So I also heard, which no surprise here with Dr. Defense, Donnie Webb being the head coach, Brentwood incorporates a little more of the run. I mean, not Brentwood. Franklin incorporates a little bit more of the run game. And I kind of, right? Like, Franklin doesn't try to be the flashiest. Who does that sound like? Their head coach, but they just flip and win. Well, and when they have to, they drop back.
And I think most people would tell you this about him, which is great because it's his personality too. In terms of breaking down defensively and getting a flag, They're probably better than any team.
Oh, I guarantee, and there's no doubt why.
Somebody
they
told
work
me
on it in practice.
They start every practice with flagpole. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and
well,
when you talk with the NFL flag guys, they tell you that. Work on the pulling of the flags.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Super fun, man. And you're right. It's just a matter of time before it gets sanctioned.
Well, for those I was going to say that. For those who are naysayers, we come.
We come and like Dion, whether you're ready or not. Hey,
right.
The other thing I noticed too is now it's Sunday and the weather's been beautiful, so that's been a help. But there's some nice crowds out there. You can tell there's some student sections.
It's pretty good.
Pretty cool.
And the Metro Nashville, our friends in Metro Nashville are doing it, Montgomery County. So if it goes well in those two locations, I think you're going to see it'll get proposed next year. And I wouldn't be surprised, and don't quote me on this, but I wouldn't be surprised if as quickly as 24-25 or 25-26 sanctioned sport. I can see it coming.
Well, I think it ought to be. We talked about it last year. One thing I love about it is anytime we can get our young people together, that's a good thing. There's a lot of young people on these teams that normally wouldn't have been able to be teammates because it just doesn't work out with their main sports, if that's the right way to say it. But and you can just tell, man, go to a game, watch the highlights. They're having fun. They're having fun. And with the football coaches being in the fall, all the assistants, you're not going to have a hard time finding coach. I think that's one thing we struggle with a lot of times in spring sports. You're not going to have a hard time finding coaches. And outside of uniforms, a few balls, some flags, it's not an expensive sport to start. It just makes sense.
And
or to fund.
Our uniforms look pretty good.
They're dope. Hey, they made it on the Bengals-Titans playoff game, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Tate, appreciate you being here.
This means more.
A lot more.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here as always.
See you next week.
Thank you for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.